everyone. Jeffrey
Yeah.
Cranford. What's the happiest you've ever been after a round of golf?
Well, I'm going to turn it this time, rather than you, I'm going to ask the question because I want to pose that to you first. What's the happiest you've ever been after a round of golf?
I actually have a distinct memory of one particular round. And unfortunately, it wasn't a competitive round. It was just a round with my college team. I played down the road from where we shoot these videos at the University of Redlands,
Right.
old Alistair McKenzie course, Redlands Country Club. And one day, in a round with my team, I was 7 over par after 12 holes. Pretty average round back then.
Yeah.
And then I drove the ball into a tree, and I had a long way in. And I hit a 2-iron to about 15 feet and made a birdie. And then the next hole was a short par 5, and I hit a 3-wood second shot to about 2 feet and made the putt for eagle. And the next hole was a par 3, and I hit my shot literally an inch from the hole.
Wow.
So in 3 holes, I went from 7 over to 3 over.
Right.
And then I finished par birdie par.
Wow. Wow.
And I remember that night in my dorm room just having this crazy personal celebration. And the Rocky movies were out. And The Eye of the Tiger was a sign. I mean, I was so excited singing The Eye of the Tiger. And I'm like, boy, I know how to play this game.
Yeah.
You know, one time.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's been more than that. Jeff's a good stick. There's a few that stand out in my mind. Maybe a course record, or I did break 60 finally. That was kind of exciting.
Yeah, right.
For the first time in my 50s,
59.
which was kind of wild. But I think as I look back, it's typically competition. So maybe the final round of a tournament where I qualified me for something bigger, and now you're beginning to plan and dream and all those kinds of things. So there's been a few of those rounds that I look back, and I tell you what, those rounds in the midst of 100 rounds that you just say, I'm done, I will never play this game again, keep you coming back. So golf's a funny animal.
Well, when Paul was praying for the people of Colossae and the believers there, he prayed that they would be joyously thankful to the Father.
Yes.
That they would look at their life and say, yes, this is great.
Yeah.
How does that happen for us? I mean, life has a lot of trash in it.
Right.
But we emerge as believers as joyous.
Sometimes I think about when Jesus in Revelation, the 3rd chapter, talks about not losing your first love. One of those things that I look back at, some of the greatest joy in my life was the darkest time in my life. And dark, brutal times in my life, 25, 30 years ago. And when I turned to God, and sometimes the first time, this was not a religious experience, this was a relational experience, I remember dancing. I mean, David danced in his underwear. I danced in my underwear around my house in the darkest time of my life. I don't know that I've experienced that level of intense joy in the midst of a trial, because I had nothing. And so everything that I had was His joy. Now, one of the things sometimes we forget, it's not our joy. God wants to put His joy in us, His joy.
The joy of the Lord.
The joy of the Lord
is our strength.
Is our strength. It's not my joy, because that's circumstantial, that's emotional, it comes and goes. I'm doing well financially, my health is good, I got a vacation coming up, that's my joy. But when He puts His joy, that is something it's demonstrably different, because it's sustainable, it's unbelievable. Yeah.
When I feel that way, do I naturally turn toward thanksgiving to the Lord?
For sure. Colossians 4:2 talks about being devoted to prayer. We started this series with talking about prayer, because this entire Colossians 1:9 and forward is about prayer. He's praying for the church at Colossae. He kind of culminates the letter, not the particular passage we're looking at, be devoted to prayer, keeping alert in it with an attitude of thanksgiving. And one of the things that's simple, and I mean secular people understand this too, if you're struggling with depression, find things you're thankful about and begin to think. But the challenge is, if you're out there and you're not even believing in God, and who do you thank? I mean, one of the things about and existing as a human being is that who can I thank? Myself? Pat myself on the back? I mean, somebody else maybe that helped me, but no, to thank God. So part of the prayer process is invigorated, empowered, if you will, by our constant attitude of being thankful. And that's big.
I think it's also big to recognize that here in this passage where it's very serious about how we grow as believers,
Right.
that near the very end here he says, but you know what all this leads to? Joy.
Very much.
You know, this serious endeavor sets you up for joy.
I came to give life and life more abundantly. And it's sad that we don't walk into that every day because we get distracted. But there is life abundant that's there.
Well, we're looking at Colossians 1, 9 through 12. And the end of verse 12 will be upon us next time.
Great.
So we'll see you then.